already tired. It's a sign. And studies show that our children, their life expectancy is going to be lower than us. Yeah, first generation in a long time to have the previous generation's life expectancy higher than the generation coming. So what are you going to do about it? Nothing? You got to do something. Yeah, we need to get them to move. You see, the games and the sitting down, it helps, but it's becoming too much now. You see, because when we were little boys, do you see, one of the records we set was outrunning cows that are chasing you. Sometimes you are playing. I lived in a barracks, and there were some cows that sometimes it's like they were mental cows. So you will be walking, the cows will see you, and then they start coming after you. Yeah. So what do? You end up running. Do you see? So all of those things helped us. Do you follow? But our children, there's nothing they do. Go to school in a car. They have something they call PE. They run around the school 3 times, and that's the PE. You see? Then they come back in a car. Everywhere else they go, in a car. It's not good, though. Yeah, let's not, you see, sometimes we pray and we wonder why God doesn't answer. Sometimes it's because of some of these things we neglect. Do you follow? Yeah, because I've noticed, this was last Sunday, I climbed up 3 stairs and she is tired. And immediately I realized that, no, there's something wrong. Why a 10-year-old climbed 30 stairs and you are tired? No, it's not right. Do you see? So let's try and advise ourselves and get them to exercise. Okay? It helps to prevent or to prolong or to keep at bay a lot of sicknesses and diseases. Do you see? Exercises keeps a lot of sicknesses at bay. All right. So those of you who say you do exercise, okay, I have a present for you, and I'm going to test you. You will see whether you exercise or not by what I'm going to give you. Okay? It is called, what I have for you is called a pedometer. Do you know what a pedometer is? What is a pedometer? It counts the number of steps. This morning when I left home, I put my pedometer here. So from morning to now, do you know how many steps I've taken? I was aiming for 10,000 steps. Pedometer says 6,303. And this is because I don't drive to work. I walk. And I walk about 15 minutes to catch I could catch the bus by walking 2 minutes, but I prefer to walk 15 minutes to catch the bus, and I do a bit of work. So 6,000 steps. You put it in your belt hook, and so as you are walking, it's counting. It actually also shows you the distance you've walked, 5 kilometers, and then the calories you've burned. Okay, so Brother John, I'm going to give you one. Put on your belt. At the end of the day, let's see whether you've been taking steps or not. Rosemary, I'll also give you one. I don't think you do exercise. How? What exercise do you do? You do. Okay, the pedometer will tell us whether you are working or not. Exercise. Have you been exercising? We are talking about exercising. What exercise do you do? Do you do a lot of walking? No, but how long do you walk to get the bus? Now, when it comes to taking a bus, do you know what you can do? You can see, instead of taking the bus at the station, the stop you take, you can walk 2 stops and then just take it there, or 2 stops back. Same thing. You just leave home a bit early, walk 2 steps, 2 stops, and then you catch the bus. Same bus, so you won't be late, but you would have had some exercise. Because if we don't do it, you don't. When you go to your doctor, when you hit 40, they will tell you these things are waiting to come. Exercise, and you keep them at bay. You see? So when you do them now, you help to prolong your life. All right? So pedometer, I'm going to give you one, and then you come and tell us every day as you are leaving home, put it in your belt hook. If you hold it, it doesn't work when you hold it. I think it has something when you are walking. It picks something from your belt hook, and then it's able to count it. Yeah, those of you say you do treadmill, put it on. Let's see the treadmill. How many steps you are taking on the treadmill? Eh? Oh, to work for you. Brother, don't have any such thoughts. Okay, so I'll give it to you after the session. It's free, it's free. Just take it. Use it to help yourself so that at least you can try to monitor. Because a lot of things, when you don't know, you may think, oh, I walk a lot. But you check and it's only 500 steps. Say, oh. Okay, Hebrews chapter 11. Let's just look at our Bible lesson for today, and then we go home. So today I want to just conclude on faith and hope. All right? I'm trying to understand the differences and the role that hope plays in faith. Hebrews 11 verse 1, it says, now faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. All right? And 1 Corinthians 13 already tell us that there remaineth faith, hope, and love. Okay, so faith, hope, and love are 3 greatest spiritual forces. All right? So, being charismatic Christians, we generally tend to downplay hope and then simply say faith is everything you need. All right? Now, it is true, Hebrews 11 verse 6 says that without faith, it is impossible to please God. So you do need faith to please God. But the definition of faith makes it essential that we understand the role played by hope in the faith process. Do you see? So if you look at the definition, if you don't have hope, then it's fair to say that you can't say you have faith when there is no hope. All right? And as I will show you, you see that you need to have a basis for your hope. You can't just hope out of thin air. Do you see? Now, when I say basis, I'll explain what I mean by basis. But you need to have a reason for the hope that you have. I remember when I was a little boy, I used to have dreams. And one of the frequent dreams I would have would show that I was the president of the United States of America. Do you see? Now, if I come and I tell you, I have faith to be the president, what will you say? You will tell me, oh, Pastor, with God all things are possible. Do you follow? But then, do I have a basis for the hope on which my faith is based? Because although with God all things are possible, when you are having a basis, there are 2 main bases you have. All right? So listen carefully. One of them is, for want of a better word, human basis. Okay? So let's say you get married and you are looking for a child. All right? So you are married, you want a child. Okay. It's easy to have faith that you have a child. Why? Because you have a spouse that you can try to have the child with. Isn't it? So that's more of a human basis. It's not really even a basis Obviously, God is everything. But in that case, you already have what you need. All you need to do is to do the work, and then you are going to have what it is that you need. All right? But so that's the basis, hope based on human reason. You analyze it, you have what it takes. So you can have hope for it, and then you can have faith for it. Then you would also have somebody who says that, I'm not married. There's nobody who is proposing to me, but I believe that I will have 3 children. Now, what is the basis for such a person's confession? It can't be human basis, because there's no husband or wife around the corner. So somebody like that, the basis for the person's hope and faith, okay, is clearly just based on hope in God. Do you see? So, and it's allowed to have hope in God in cases where there is no other reason for the hope. Do you follow? So such a person, so 2 people, one who is married with a spouse, okay, you are married with a spouse, you want a child, and then one who is not married, nobody on the horizon, also believing for a child. You see, the way the 2 act are completely different. The one with the spouse will say, honey, come, let's go and let's go and make the baby. Do you see? But the other one can't do that. So the other, what he or she would do will be different from what this one would do. All that the one married would do is to commit love and then pray that as we committed, a child is coming. But the other one would need another reason to continue to have faith, which is based on hope. Okay? So you need a basis for your faith, your hope, which faith is based on. So either the basis is that I've covered the basics. Now all I need is I just do what I need to do, and then God blesses it. Or it's just based on pure God. There's no husband, no wife, but I'm believing. Do you see? That's why you hear stories of people who are not married, and then they confess that they are married. They buy their wedding gowns, do everything, ready, waiting before the man will. Is that what you did? No. Yeah, they buy everything, waiting, plan the wedding, plan everything, even have the names of their children. There's no husband, no wife. Nobody's come, but they've planned all of this. Do you follow? Because if the basis of your hope is foolish, do you see? It won't work. Why do I say that? Because in James the Bible says you ask and you don't receive. Isn't it? So that means you can have faith for something, but you won't get it. Because according to James, you ask amiss. So if the basis that you are seeking something is amiss, you won't get it. All right? Now, one of the mistakes we make is that we try to assume that the basis for everything is the same, but it's not the same. There are some that you need to do something, and there are some that you just believe God. So the mistake is to think everything is just God. And sometimes that's when you talk to some Christians. Oh, I'm believing God. Do you have a job? No. Are you going out looking for a job? No. How do you expect to get a job? I'm believing God. Now, it's possible it can work. No. So the difference is that it's possible it can work. But where you have legs, you have everything to go. All you have to do is just go out and say, oh, can I get a job? You sit back and then you say, oh, the job will come to you. You see, it is possible. It all depends on whether you can have a basis for it. But it's easier to say, oh, as I'm handing out my resume, I'm believing that I have a job. Do you follow? Now, contrast that with when you are sick. When you are sick too, there's 2 ways Do you see? You can be like me. You take the medicine and then you pray, Lord, let your healing power pass through the medicine I'm taking to heal me, you see. Or you decide that, look, no medicine, nothing. I pray and then I am healed. And all of it, I'll show you from the Bible. You see that there's one story that illustrates this so clearly. Okay, so I'll show you. You see that Jesus, two people came for miracles. One had faith, received it by faith. The other didn't have faith, but Jesus still did it for them. So you can see what I'm talking about. So the mistake is to try to say that everything, just God. Just God. It's possible it's just God, but in some cases, depending on what you are looking for, there is something you also have to do rather than just sit back and say just God. Do you see? And if you look at Jesus's miracles, all right, there are some miracles he prepared. For example, feeding the people. He didn't just pray, Lord, feed them. But he will look for somebody's bread and he said, let the people sit down, prepare for the miracle, then the miracle comes. Or he is doing the wedding feast. Okay, he says, take barrels, fill them with water. Of course, he could have stood there and said, water, fill, or wine, fill. But he didn't do that. He did prepare. But there are other ones too, like the healing ones, where he says, be it unto you according to your faith. Or he touches the eye and then the person is healed. So you, depending on what it is that he is doing, either Jesus is preparing or he doesn't prepare. Like when he healed, he brought Lazarus from the dead. There was not much preparation. Somebody who is dead, there's not much preparation you can do. So those ones are clearly types of miracles that you just believe God for it. Okay, so don't get confused and think everything you just sit back and just God is going to do it. No. Sometimes you need to do something for God to do his part. You can't just sit down and say God is going to bring the miracle. All right? Okay, so hope plays a very important part in the faith process. Okay, so let me show you 4 people who were able to move from hope and they ended up in faith. And the first one, of course, is the father of faith, Abraham. Now, you know Tuesdays are what? Teaching services, okay? Now, if I was preaching, and sometimes you need to understand or you need to be able to follow the preaching we preach on the day, because every service we have, do you know that every service we have, there is a purpose for the service? Yeah, we have a purpose. And there's a reason we call this Tuesday teaching, and we call Sunday worship service, and we call this teaching. There's a difference. Do you follow? Yeah. So if I was preaching on maybe Sunday, or I was preaching on, let's say, a convention, I wouldn't be giving the explanation I'm giving. All I'll say is, have faith, God will heal you, and you'll be healed. I won't go into. But when it's teaching, that's when you take time to do the actual step by step. You need this first before you get there. So you need to be able to follow. All right? So the first person is who? Abraham. Now in Romans chapter 4, verse 18, and I like the New Living Translation. Okay? Anybody has New Living, turn to it. Just notice the very first sentence. You see it right there. New Living. Do you have New Living? Romans 4:18. Romans 4:18. Roseway, you don't have New Living. What translation do you have? Good old King James. All right. Do you have it? Just read just the first sentence.
But God shows his anger.
Romans 4:18. You're reading something else. Yes, okay, read it please. And even when there was what? No reason. So what does it mean? It means that hope must have a reason. Do you see? Now, if you read, the New American will say, in hope against hope he believed. But this one says, what in hope against hope means is when there was no hope there was no reason for hope. Abraham kept hoping. So what this is saying is that Abraham's hope was now not based on human reason, but was simply based on God, which is the second type of the reason I'm talking about. If Abraham was 25 and God had come and said, you will have a child, all you would think is, Sarah, we will do it twice a day and the promise will be fulfilled. Because he was young and he could see that by human reason he can still have a child. But it's after the human reason has ended, then you now say, look, I can't see the way out. I don't know where the miracle will come from, east, west, north, or south. Do you follow? I'm just hoping in God. All right? But every miracle, you can't treat every miracle like that. Do you see? So, for example, if you are under authority, you see, Bible makes it clear that our promotion comes from the people over us. So if you want promotion, you can't simply go to God and expect God to just promote you when he has put somebody over you who is supposed to be the cause of your promotion. Do you follow? Now, when I say somebody being the cause, yes, God can work through the person's heart, but God won't bypass the person and then just come and promote you. So he may work on the person's heart and still promote you. Do you follow? But when you are under authority, you can't ignore the one who is above you and then just go to God. So, as for this one, I don't care about him. I'm just going to God. And then God is going to promote me. Which is a lot of the mistakes we make when it comes to financial miracles. Because you have Christians who would go and then they will be prayed for, but they don't pay tithe. And that's what you are doing. You are hoping that God will just promote you without you obeying the rest of the law. That's what I'm talking. Where everything, just God, just God. I don't have to do anything. All I have to do is just come. The pastor says, bring whatever. I just bring it. Meanwhile, you don't pay tithe. You don't look after your family. You don't do any of those things. We don't do it. And then just God is just going to promote you. Do you follow? That's what I'm talking about. So in Abraham's case, the New Living says, when there was no reason for hope. So sometimes you have a reason for hope, which is not strictly God is going to do it. But I have to now do something and then expect God's hand to come. Do you see? And I have actually compiled 37 of Jesus' miracles that I'm studying to see the differences between the different miracles that he did. Do you follow? And then as you study them, you see that, look, when it comes to this one, there's something he does. When it comes to this one, there's something else he does. So you can't treat everything that, we have faith, is going to happen. Do you follow? Which is sometimes where our mistakes come from. So, for example, I could pray and say, look, Lord, give me 500 people. And say, I have faith for 500. Do you think it's possible? Is it godly hope or is it human hope? Because I have to establish it. No. But if it's godly hope, number one, where are the 5,000 going to stay? Because God can bring them. But why would they? So if I haven't prepared, then I'm not ready for the miracle. That's what I'm talking about. So I pray for human beings. Then I prepare a place and I say, God, bring them here. So is that one based on human reason or it's based on both? All of it is based on both, except that there is a certain human component to the belief that you need to take care of before you wait for God to bring the miracle. Do you see? Or like a woman who says, I want to be married, but you haven't learned how to have. What do you need to marry? How to be patient. If God were to bring you the husband, it's actually going to destroy you. You end up being divorced. Because you haven't learned what it takes. Every woman who wants to marry, they should go and watch Lions and Lionesses. Oh, Ezra, if you watch wildlife, you won't say it publicly. You will say in your head, my husband is just like this lion in the movie. You will see that they are like that. Very lazy. When they want it now. That's how lions are. All right. Okay, so we're talking about Abraham. Okay, so the verse says, when there was no reason. Okay, so sometimes the reason is not strictly God is going to do 100%. But you have to do a certain part and then God does the remaining. Okay? But if you reach a situation where, as it says here, there is no hope for your human reason, then it's simply just based on God. I'll give you another example. You see the recent plane which is missing. Before yesterday or so, when they announced that they are sure that the plane went in the sea, the families were hoping that their loved ones may be alive. What was the hope based on? Because they haven't found the wreckage. Do you see? So it's not on the fact that God has saved them. They are basing it on the fact that we haven't seen the wreckage, so maybe they are alive. Now they come out and they say, we think that the thing went into the sea. Some are still hoping, but that hope is no longer based on what it was based on previously. So you see that the same people who are hoping, the basis for the hope is changing. As the discoveries and the statements come, the basis for the hope is changing. First, it was based on there's no wreckage, so they may be alive. Easy. Now, when they find a wreckage, they may say, oh, maybe there's an island somewhere where some of them might have been. And then after the days, 13 days, the days are expiring. Now you are moving from the human, because even if they are alive and they are stranded somewhere, because it's taking so long, they may now die. So now you see the hope is slowly shifting from the human reason to now we are just believing God to save them. But initially they don't start with we believe in God because there's no wreckage. So it's possible that they could be alive. Okay? Now, number 2 is the woman whose daughter was sick, the Syrophoenician woman. Okay? And in Mark 7:25, it says, but after hearing of him, Mark 7:25, and what the Bible is referring to as after hearing of him is hearing of Jesus. Okay? So this woman had a daughter who was unwell, and then she heard of Jesus. So at that point, what did she have? She just had hope. So when she heard, it's like you are sick of an incurable disease, and then they tell you, oh, there is something somewhere. Your hopes start rising up based on what you've heard, isn't it? But she didn't end there. Then the next thing, she moved and came to see Jesus, and said to Jesus, please cast out the demon out of my daughter. And then Jesus said, let the children first be satisfied, and then let the dogs, and then the crumbs fall to the dogs. Then she answered and said, yes, Lord, even the dogs eat of the children's crumbs. So what she had done, if you study, you see that initially she had hope, and then from the hope led to her faith. Do you follow? And so when her faith came up, then she came to the Lord and said, look, by all means, I have to get healing. And so even if you refer to me as a dog, I don't care. I still want the healing. Then she got her healing because she moved from hope and then ended up with faith. But what was her hope based on? She didn't just arise and go to any man. She hadn't heard anything. She wouldn't just wake up and say, any man come and heal my son or my daughter. All right? Now, the third one is what I was telling you about. Mark 5 from verse 21. Okay, I'm going to read it very, very fast because we are running out of time. Mark 5:21. It says, when Jesus had crossed over again in the boat to the other side, a large crowd gathered around him, and so he stayed by the seashore. One of the synagogue officials named Jairus came up and he went up with him, and a large crowd was following him and pressing in on him. Now you see that this man Jairus only had he didn't have faith because you need to have hope, but you need to move from hope. The woman who had had a hemorrhage for 12 years and had endured much that she had. After hearing about Jesus, himself that the power proceeding from him had gone forth, turned around in the crowd and said, who touched my garments? And his disciples said to him, you see the crowd pressing in on you, and you say, who touched me? Daughter, your what? Your faith has made you well. Go in peace and be healed of your affliction. So, if she had faith, then by the definition of Hebrews 11, she must have had hope before having faith, because you can't have hope until you have. You can't have faith until you have. All right. Now let's look at Jeremiah 35. While he was still speaking, they came from the house of the synagogue and said, your daughter has died. Why trouble the teacher anymore? But when Jesus heard it, what did he say to him? 36. He didn't say your faith. What did he say to the guy? You know you have faith. Just the verse before, he had said to the woman, your faith. But this guy, he said to him, don't be afraid. Because the guy was still hoping. He hadn't moved into faith. So he was hoping that Jesus would get hope before his daughter died. And then they came to tell him, your daughter has died. Now, if he had moved from hope to faith, it shouldn't have mattered to him whether the daughter was dead or not. If he believed that Jesus raised the daughter. Do you see? So there's two verses. One verse, Jesus says to the woman, your faith. Another verse, he says, don't be afraid. Two different people. Tells you this guy received his healing simply because of the mercy of Jesus, because he didn't have faith. He only had hope after he had heard about Jesus. All right? Now, the fourth example from the Old Testament is the 4 lepers who were at the gate. Okay, and this is in 2 Kings from verse 2 Kings 7 from verse 3. It says, Now there were 4 leprous men at the entrance of the gate, and they said to one another, why do we sit here until we die? If we say we will enter the city, then the famine is in the city, and we will die there. And if we sit here, we will die also. Now therefore come, let us go over to the camp of the Arameans. If they spare us, we will live, and if they kill us, we will but die. They arose at twilight to go to the camp of the Arameans. When they came to the outskirts of the camp of the Arameans, behold, there was no one there. So what had happened here was that they started walking, and the Bible says God multiplied their steps, and it sounded like a whole great army was coming. So all that they did was that they had just a little amount of hope that we may be saved if we move out. Do you see? They had just a little amount of hope that if we move out, we may be saved. And acting on that hope, then God now came in and multiplied the steps that they were taking. Because they didn't know. They had no clue if God would come or not. They just said, look, we'll die here or we'll die there. And as well, there's a small chance as we will die. So let's go and try. So they started moving. The same person, not to be, but it's healing he wants to receive. Then you don't say the same thing and say, go to school and come back, God will heal you. Do you follow? And we saw the 2 women. All of them heard about Jesus. But after hearing, they acted by taking. Don't be like Jairus, who was hoping that Jesus would catch the daughter before the daughter died. And so when he heard the news, for Jesus to say, do not be afraid, he must have become afraid. You see, but the Syrophoenician woman came with faith, said, look, no matter what happens, I'm not going back. See? That's exercising of faith. Jairus was exercising of his hope that Jesus has some maybe magic potion. When the daughter drinks it, you know how sometimes you have these movies, somebody gets sick, you say, we have to get him the antidote before he dies. When he dies, that's it. So that was Jairus, hoping that Jesus would come before the daughter would die. But the woman with the issue, all of those ones, it wasn't based on any of it. Look, if I touch this man's hand, whether my legs are walking, whatever, I will be doing. By touching him, Jesus is okay. So some miracles, some things you need to prepare for it. Not all of it. It's not everything that you just go and just prepare. You can't just go and say, Lord, give unto me. I won't give, but give unto me. It doesn't work. You want the blessing that comes with paying of tithe. You have to do your part, then God comes to it. So if you are looking for the windows of heaven to be open, blessing to be poured, then you must pay your tithe. You can't just sit down and say, I won't pay tithe. But God open the windows. Because that is very difficult when God is clear what he is. So if you are praying for that kind of a miracle, then if I ask you, what's the basis of your hope? The basis of your hope is that I have obeyed the scripture, so I expect God to do his part. And then you believe, you move from hope, then you end up in faith. And then you are likely to get what. All right. But if I was preaching on say, I see God. See, that's how I would talk. And I will see God includes people who don't pay tithe. And I'm seeing God opening the windows over people who have been, I mean, it won't work. When you don't pay, you don't obey God's command. Like the Bible says, like to husbands, dwell with your wife according to knowledge, so that your prayers be. You ignore the wife, everything, push her to the side. Then you go to God to bless you. I mean, how? The pastor can anoint you or you get a nice feeling, but God cannot. I got a revelation. Let me tell you why. I got a revelation.